Hey guys, you might be wondering why I'm wearing a top hat, even though it's not really a top hat because it needs to be like really freaking tall. And the reason is because I got involved in Halloween. As you can see from my gorgeous picture, I was a zombie. I was trying to go for like a zombie professor thing who experimented on himself, but I ended up like not being able to get a lab coat or anything, so I was just like, you know, whatever. As you may or may not know, I have just kind of finished my exams. Admittedly, I finished them on Thursday. It's been a while since I've recorded anything after exams because I've been sick. As you can probably tell from my voice, it's still a little bit weird, and I've just been lazy. But I figured I should talk about exam stuff. Like, there's tons of other things I want to talk about. I really want to do a video about fandoms. I've been planning for it for weeks now, but I haven't done it yet. And I'm going to probably film it a day or two after this. And I figured, given the fact that I've just finished exams, I might as well do a thing about exams while it's still fresh in my mind and it's timing and stuff. So I wanted to talk about some of the weirdest questions I've seen either in exams or just in general. I'm going to preface this also by saying that I'm going to be talking so much about maths methods because I absolutely hate the subject. But I have also done bio and psych this year, so I'm going to start with those. Bio, pretty much as a general rule, there is almost no problems with any questions because you can do it about anything. Admittedly, it does make some people kind of nervous because you might start saying, let's talk about syphilis, and they'll be just like, what? And it'll just be a question about genetics or something. You guys need to calm down, just calm down, okay? It's just a genetics question, it's cool, okay? The closest thing, probably the only thing that I can really think of off the top of my head that was a bit out there was when we were doing our chromosome, went off in a tangent and asked a question about like, here's an alien species, and I was just like, okay. It was kind of confusing, it was kind of pointless, but it wasn't really something that was like terrifying. I was just like, okay. So the next thing obviously is psych, and very much like bio, it's usually fairly straightforward. As a general rule, there'll be questions like, X is doing Y, what is he suffering from? The only thing that kind of came off as kind of weird in my mind was not even a question in this year's end of year exam, but rather my reaction to it. And the main thing that I blame it on is the fact that I've gone completely fanboy, berserk over the last couple, like the last month or 2 or 3, and I basically went ship crazy. I mean, seriously, Tumblr, like there are ships for rock and paper. Paper, scissors, rock. Because it'd be like, paper's not covering rock, he's hugging him. So when I saw a question which was like, Billy is a bird breeder and his favourite bird is Polly, and he watched Polly hatch from an egg and watched Polly grow up, I couldn't help but go, I freaking ship that, I ship it, I know I shouldn't, it's an exam, I need to be focusing on my work, and this is not a fandom, this is not Young Justice or anything, and my life is falling to pieces, but I ship it! The only probably complaint that I can think of off the top of my head that I have with the question was last year's question. Now, I don't like people who do that kind of Google MD thing when they have a serious issue. Like, if they all of a sudden feel a burning, stabbing sensation in their side, and they Google it and they're just like, oh, I have a swollen uterus, despite the fact that they're a man. But I think it's even more balls to the wall stupid if you just like go, I have this, I obviously have this condition, even though you don't know anything about the condition. If you knew anything about the condition, you would know. You would not have schizophrenia, because schizophrenia is hallucinations, pretty much, as opposed to amnesia. That does not make any freaking sense. Why would you just assume that? But anyway, following the trend of just stupid questions that just don't make any sense, let's move on to maths methods. With maths methods, as a general rule, most of these questions I'm talking about are just exam questions, but there is one textbook question that I really want to address. Admittedly, it was like a couple of years ago as opposed to like this year, but like what the hell, get over it. Anyway, there was this really stupid question that I didn't understand. And it was in probability, and there are tons of people who are more than willing to say, oh, probability's crap, why the hell would you do it? I don't really mind probability, because, admittedly, that's because I love playing cards, and I love playing dice games. But when it comes to probability, the problem is they've run out of things to do, because there are only so many spinners and dice things and playing cards and D20s and whatever the hell you want to include in there, and they run out of stuff quickly, so they decided to include cars. The premise of this question was, we have a guy in a car yard with this many Holdens and this many Fords, and we blindfold him and he randomly picks a car. I'm sorry. You're basing a decision to buy your vehicle that will cost you tens of thousands of dollars based solely on chance. When would this ever happen? When it comes to exam questions, there are tons of questions that I could possibly talk about, but I'm going to narrow it down to one particular man in particular, Tasmania Jones. Tasmania Jones, for all of you who do not know, is the superhero of the maths methods exams. Essentially what they do is they have this character who is essentially Indiana Jones, but as an Australian, primarily because of the really punny name, because Tasmania is a place in Australia, and it sounds like Indiana, not really, not at all. And essentially what they do is they replace his weapons, such as his guns, such as his wits, his street smarts, his knives, his cool hat maybe, I don't know if they take away his cool hat, and they replace it with autistic savant style, ridiculously complicated maths that just make like no sense. Like, how could anyone ever calculate this ever? Now I could include countless examples of this vigilante of maths, but I'm going to restrict it to just two. I'm going to talk about this year's, and I'm going to talk about last year's. This year's was, it wasn't terrible. It's definitely the lesser of two evils out of this year and last year, but still pretty crappy. Basically it started off with he's at this place that they've stolen an emerald. He's going to steal it back, but it's in a vat of poison. Let me just start off by saying that the vat is a cone. Why would you ever have a vat that is a cone shape? I mean, come on, vats almost by definition, if you've seen any vats anywhere, they are cylindrical. They are not frickin' cones. They're only cones when you have like the things like getting smashed up and pushed down there. But not this. And they were like, the poison is at this height. How high is it? There's an emerald on our shelf here. And he turns the tap at the bottom and the poison flows out, but by the time it gets to the bottom it starts filling up again. And I was just like, what? No. Stop. Especially when you get into the overly complex maths. Like, you start off with just like, this is the size of a cone, then you're just like, this is the volume, this is the rate, this is the time, this is how much time he has between him turning the thing, getting down into the thing, and then getting back. I don't want to harp on too much about this because I want to harp on about last year. Despite all of this Tasmania Jones terribleness and freaking out and stuff like thatness, I actually feel somewhat blessed that I didn't get last year's exam for Tasmania Jones. Essentially was like, here's a river and here's where there's a village and they're going to make a desalination plant and there's going to be a pipeline. Doesn't seem that hard. Some of the first kind of questions were actually pretty easy. Make a formula for like what the length of the pipeline is, which it's ugly, but it isn't hard. A bit harder that would be along the lines of, okay, it has to be as close as it can to the village. Where should it be on this thing? Then it was kind of a, oh god, it got so much worse. The worst question by far was along the lines of this, because, oh no, the desalination plant is like blown up or something. Tasmania Jones, being the superhero, vigilante, top hat guy thing that he is, has to go and save. But does he take a car? No. Does he take the bus? You seriously think they have a bus in the middle of Africa? Well, does Tasmania Jones use the power of math to fly? Wow. No, sorry. This is what he does. He runs to the river. And he runs in, not just like a meter away or something, but he runs in at the point Route 7 something. When is this ever going to be a good idea to have him running in at Route 7? He also does it at this speed, denoted by this really complicated formula with like squares and dividing and things. After entering this point, he swims. Do they say how fast? No, they say that it's proportional to like y and all that crap. The result? You have to figure out exactly if this formula is correct. Oh my god, it is the most ugly thing ever. There's like 6 terms and there's like squares and there's I don't remember everything. There might be a radical in there, and it's just like, oh, what? How would you? I just see that, my mind would scream. Like, I mean, I see the other one that makes sense, and it's just like, okay, calculate the pipeline. This is just ugly. Like, how would you ever be able to figure it out? It's just the most stupid thing to think that kids might actually be able to understand this. And like, this would scare people out of maths, I think. I'd be just like, no. It was awful, and it was horrific seeing that, especially given that I did a practice exam for this, like maybe a couple of weeks before the actual exam. I saw it and I was just like freaking out. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed what is presumably a relatively long video about me complaining about things. I will hopefully be posting videos about fandoms and other things of that nature in the near future. So please subscribe so you can see that kind of stuff. Also subscribe to my cosplay channel. It's not necessarily mine, it's my cosplay group's channel. So right here, Untitled Cosplay Otakus. We've actually uploaded some stuff now. It's mainly just a girl in my group dancing to like Pon 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 and Polka something. Levin Polka, I think it is. So please check that out, and I guess I'll see you later. Bye.